Welcome to the First Round Fantasy Podcast, your first choice for second round advice, with your hosts Gabriel Miramontes and Jacob Bartley.
Burrow on 3rd and 7. Jefferson hauls it in. Would be Max Crosby. Touchdown, San Francisco.
Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast, your first choice for second round advice. 2 weeks in a row. I sound odd. I'm just going to start off with that. My mouth is still numb. You might hear a few lisps tonight. And the moral of the story is, get your teeth checked and cleaned regularly. Because if you wait a couple of years in between teeth checkups, you're going to have some bad teeth. So that's my story today. But Jacob Bartley's also here. How are you doing today, Jacob Bartley?
I'm doing well, man. There is nothing like NFL football. There's nothing like it. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's nothing like week one surprises, Jacob. So what was one of the most surprising things to you in week one of the fantasy football season? And I'll give you a second to think because, of course, we always got to shout out Star Drew. He was here long before the show started, and he'll be here long after the show ends. Always showing love. What's up to you, man? Thanks for getting the chat going tonight. Nice slow for starters. Appreciate you, man. Jacob, I hope I bought you some time. What was something that surprised you in week one?
I will say, I didn't need any time because I knew exactly what surprised me in week one. And it's has to do with some of the disappointments. And I'll just narrow it down to two players in one lineup. And yes, they were in one of my same lineups. And that is the performances of T. Higgins and Drake London. If you would have told me that, hey, week one, Drake London and T. Higgins are both going to put up donuts, I would have said no way in hell. And I would have, if you would have asked me, hey, are you willing to bet everything you have on it? I would have said yes. And I would have lost everything because that's what happened. So that's crazy to me. I can't believe that. And I had them both in a lineup.
I love how you said it. If anybody knows Jacob, his comedy style is very satiric. So when he said that just now, the punchline was just so Jacob. I would have offered my soul, and I would have lost it. That's just too funny, man. Yeah, a lot of underwhelming performances. I mean, you could argue that Jamar Chase opposing T. Higgins also had a bad night. But those were the big highlights, right? Drake London, 1 target. T. Higgins, I think he had 8 targets. Didn't come down with anything. But the weather in that game was crucial. And in the other game, Desmond Ridder only threw the ball 18 times. And apparently Drake London's not talented enough to get multiple targets in a game. So as a man who has a lot of Drake London shares, I'm very scared for this season. I'm very scared, but I'm here for the ride, and we're here to talk through it together. Let's obviously start with some of the big picture things here in the room, things that have a lot of fantasy implications. We'll start off with the most notable one, and that's going to be Aaron Rodgers out for the season. In comes Zach Wilson. There's reports saying that the New York Jets could bring in a veteran QB, but from a fantasy perspective, this has to be a huge hit to all fantasy stocks on the New York Jets side of the ball, starting with Jeff Wilson, trickling down to the running back core, Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, and then, of course, wide receiver one himself, your man of the year, Garrett Wilson. My initial reaction before I give it to you is that as far as the running backs are concerned, we saw how heavily New York relied on the run game during last season. So I think you're going to have a bigger problem deciding who to start each week, Dalvin or Breece Hall. I think you can start them both, but I definitely think there are duds for both of them as the season comes along. Oh my goodness, I'm lisping. So Jacob, go ahead. And whenever I get into super lisp mode, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Go ahead, Jacob.
That's okay, man. Look, I don't mind. I can talk fantasy all day. So obviously I'm closely tied to the situation. one of my hot takes, I said it on the podcast. I've been saying it all offseason. I even made a short about it, is that Garrett Wilson will be like the top fantasy performer this year among flexes, number one wide receiver. And the main reason, other than his own talent level and his capability of doing that, was Aaron Rodgers. And watching the game last night, and was telling our buddy DeMont that, look, my take is safe because now I have nothing to lose, because now that Aaron Rodgers is out, I can never be proven wrong on that take. Hypothetically,
look at the pro of that.
I could be proven right. Hypothetically, it's a long shot, but like, let's say he's top 10, my take still looks pretty good. So it kind of, I'm kind of safe in that take in a sense. I mean, if he really, the thing is, if he's a top 30 wide receiver, top 40 wide receiver, be like, oh man, it's all because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. So, not that, I don't even think that's necessarily true, but we could always say that, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm sure if you watch that game, you saw his tip catch. He like tipped it away from the defender and then tipped it back to himself or something like that. It was a pretty amazing catch. So that's why I believe in the guy so much, those type of plays.
Let me ask you this, Jacob. Obviously, I think Garrett Wilson is the biggest question mark now. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. Like, who was his quarterback then? Mostly Zach Wilson, mostly Mike White, sometimes Joe Flacco. He won Rookie of the Year. I think if they stuck with Zach Wilson in an offseason and where he got to watch and train under Aaron Rodgers, you're not going to get a worse version of Zach Wilson. Is it going to be like a much more improved version of Zach Wilson? I don't know. But the stability is there if they stick with Zach Wilson. And I think they can build some continuity in between them. Currently, right now, I want to hear your opinion on this. I have Garrett Wilson. He's kind of fallen back in my rankings. Obviously so. You can't say that he's just going to stick in that number one conversation. I've moved him outside my top 12. So I have CeeDee Lamb at 12. I have a San Francisco Niners wide receiver at 13. And then here's where I kind of teeter back and forth. I would argue that I probably have Garrett Wilson somewhere in the 14-15 range, and then Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen behind him. But what do you think about that? Somewhere
so
in that.
We have we have it here. Okay. So I haven't updated my rankings since this, but I just want to look at my initial rankings, I had Wilson number 1, right? So
yeah.
So I'm just looking at this, like, the thing is, I'm not going to move him much further down. Honestly, because I still believe in his super talent. Like, I'm not moving him outside the top 12 for sure. But let me just see where I had Brandon Ayuk. Oh, okay. Pretty low.
I'll tell you right
higher
now,
than most. Higher than most. But anyway, so Wilson for me, it's like, obviously, so because I also had Cooper Kupp in my top 5, and this was all prior to, like, we knew Cooper Kupp wasn't going to play and all that. But I would say, I say Garrett Wilson's still going to end up being around the wide receiver 8 to 10 range.
Okay, honestly. So he's still a wide receiver 1 for you. I had him at wide receiver 10 up until this point. I moved him back a couple of spots right outside the wide receiver 1 range. I think that's a good place to.
I think he's a guy like, you remember how many bad quarterbacks DeAndre Hopkins played with over the years, like outside of Watson peak years. Sure. Like, he played with a lot of terrible quarterbacks, and he was always a wide receiver 1 no matter what. So I think Garrett Wilson's that kind of guy.
Fair enough. Remains to be seen, but if anyone can do it, it's the reigning Rookie of the Year.
So I guess my take changes. 8, wide receiver 8. There we go.
Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about Garrett Wilson's future outlook, as well as the Jets as a whole? And as always, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, man, it just sucks, dude. He got 3 passes. He didn't even pass the ball. It was 3 snaps into the game, and down goes Rodgers, and it was so sad. This next one I want to talk about. devastating for me as it was. I mean, we kind of both were dealt big blows, but these things are bigger than football, right? On the other side of the ball in Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins was someone who I had hyped up as my guy of the year, my fantasy front runner of the year. And
man, we just get destroyed over here on first round fantasy.
It didn't go well for J.K. Dobbins. It went south very bad. And like I said, fantasy takes a back seat. But I guess the question is, as we look forward and we move through the trenches, who's the running back to own? We saw Justice Hill get the 2 touchdowns, but he only averaged 2.2 yards per carry. Gus Edwards only had 8 carries, but he was pretty efficient with those carries. And we have to remember that J.K. didn't go down until midway through the second quarter. So with all of that being weighed in, are you going to go with the more efficient runner, or do you go with the goal line back, or do they completely mix it up next week? I mean, it's very hard to decipher, but I'm going to already chop this up into my start of the week because we're right into it. So my start of the week this week is Gus Edwards. He was the guy that has always been the clear-cut de facto backup to J.K. Dobbins. And I know what you're saying. They're always hurt. How do we even know who the backup is? I get that. But he is primed for success this week. Like I said, Justice Hill got the 2 touchdowns. He only averaged 2.2 yards per carry. They go up against the Bengals this week, who just gave up 200 yards rushing to the Cleveland Browns. And no, Gus Edwards is not a Nick Chubb by any means, but I think there's a real possibility here that, dude, Lamar Jackson, whole new look offense, whatever, he's going to throw the ball a lot more. Nothing really surprised me. It was a lot of short passes. He had some inaccurate passes. It's same old Lamar. He just didn't run as much. So it made him less useless as a quarterback for fantasy. So I think they're going to go back to what they know best, which is going to be continuing to run the ball, letting Lamar scramble. And I think Gus should have a good week against a team that was very beatable last week on the ground. That's why Gus Edwards is my start of the week this year. You have any thoughts? Or you can even say, who do you want to own in that backfield?
I've always liked Gus Edwards. Whenever I rostered J.K. Dobbins, I always threw Gus Edwards at the end of my bench because I believed, hey, if anything ever happens to Dobbins, Gus Edwards would be the guy. But I think it was 2 years ago where Dobbins was getting so much hype and he got injured right away. Gus Edwards comes in, balls out, gets injured right away. And it was just a disaster. I think that was 2 seasons ago, if not last season.
And yeah, last season is when they all came back. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Yeah. So it's just never ending with these guys. And I feel bad for them, obviously. Like, it's, people say, oh, they're millionaires, who cares? But that's kind of cruel because, like, this is their dream to play. And, like, how many times we talked about it before, like John Harbaugh hugging J.K. Dobbins when he comes back, when he returns back to camp. And
more than football, baby.
Now that's just shattered and it's just awful. So but I'm look, Justice Hill, I just haven't seen it from this guy. I would lean Gus Edwards for sure.
For sure. Well, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about J.K. Dobbins this week going up as my surprise performer for week 2 of the NFL season? All right, man, let's get to some comments here. We got some people coming in. Of course, Star Drew has some things to say. I hope Aaron will go out on his own terms. Yeah, man. Aaron Rodgers, age 40. See him back in a New York Jets uniform next season for sure. Hansong Hoang got a trade offer to give up Ayuk for Wilson. Should I take it? Jacob, that's your number 8 wide receiver there for fantasy, and you're trading him for the Niners' best receiver and your favorite team. This seems right up your alley. Maybe I should leave it to you, sir.
So the number 8.
I apologize for the lift.
So updated rankings. I just keep these in my head. The number 8 wide receiver for the number 9 wide receiver. Those are my updated rankings there. No, I don't know. I actually might have. We'll see. I don't know where I have Ayuk right now.
You had Ayuk going into this season as wide receiver 20. I didn't even have him inside my top 20. So you had
that's respectable. That's respectable. I wanted to put him higher, but I was trying to be like modest. Honestly, as much as I love the 49ers and as much as I think Brandon Ayuk is amazing, I still roll with Garrett Wilson. There's a few reasons why. Look, I do think the Niners offense is going to be more efficient and Brock Purdy is going to be better than Zach Wilson. But the Niners have way too many mouths to feed. And it's just there's too much to go around. And in New York, Garrett Wilson is the man. Now, look, obviously the running backs are going to get theirs. Breece Hall's going to get his. But Garrett Wilson is the best. In my opinion, Garrett Wilson is the best player on that offense.
Honestly, and he's far more important now. He's far more important now. Exactly. Now that Aaron Rodgers is injured, he becomes even much more a focal point.
For me, look, Brandon Ayuk will have more games like this, like where he pops, maybe 2 or 3 more. But Garrett Wilson's going to be more consistent and have these blow up games. So I still, if you're saying that you can get Garrett Wilson, I would do that for sure because the target tree is a lot more narrow in New York.
Even if New York runs the ball 25 to 30 times a game, Wilson is still the wide receiver to own. San Francisco has a great offense. Brock Purdy is an incredible quarterback. Yes, I said it, Jacob. I've never disagreed. But they're going to spread the ball around. I think it's going to be anyone's game any given week. But Ayuk has also cemented himself as a fine wide receiver 2 or a high flex play, whereas Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver 1. So you should take the Wilson in that. Absolutely. I can't talk. Let's move on. Hope we helped you out, Hanson Hong. We appreciate you. Roy says, are we starting the Eagles defense on Thursday night versus the Vikings over Giants defense versus the Cardinals and Broncos defense versus Washington? And also kicker question, is it good to play Jason Myers over Moody? I'll tell you right now, as far as it comes with defenses on Thursday night games are only reserved for the stars. Do not start flex plays. Do not start wide receiver 3s or questionable running back 2s. It never works out in the end. It's the Thursday night curse, and you don't want to start off your week's matchup with just a horrible, bitter taste in your mouth going into the weekend knowing you only got 3 points from, I don't know, Sky Moore or Kadarius Toney, okay? So be careful when you do things like that. And as far as defenses are concerned, I'll probably won't be starting the Vikings against the Giants. I think the Giants look to bounce back against the Vikings, actually. And I'm not starting the Cardinals. No. Cardinals defense. No, the Broncos defense versus Washington. The Broncos defense versus Washington, I would consider. Yes, I don't think that's a horrible matchup. Sam Howell didn't look that good. Yes, they got the win, but also they were playing the anticipated worst team in football. So the Broncos should be a fine play. They got Patrick Surtain, shutdown corner. Look for my guy, Jahan Dotson, to feast. Jacob Dotson.
I don't disagree with anything you said.
Roy or Ray, thanks, man. We appreciate you. And as far as the kickers, hey, man, when it comes to kickers, I always just look for the fun kickers, man, like the Sunday and Monday night kickers, just to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, or it doesn't hurt just rolling with Jake Moody all year.
Jake Moody all year. Guy looks good. Ray Gamer says, thank you so much. No, man, we appreciate you. Weezy F Baby says, any advice on Deion Jackson week 2? Well, considering he was my start of the week last week, he is now my hard fade of the week. Fumbled the ball twice, got it taken away from him. It never looked worse on my end. And sometimes you just got to own up to it and move on. Deion Jackson was a fine play, and he did not prove otherwise. Zach Moss should be back this week, so I'd say he's heading to the pine.
Oh, so this is a real baby. This isn't like Lil Wayne writing us.
Oh, there's that baby. I forget. We gotta look at these pictures, man.
Hey, I think our YouTube viewers have the best profile pictures. Remember,
let's go back to Ray here for a second. Ray is an Animal Crossing, dude. Hey, my wife loves that game. I love that game.
I remember last year there was like some dude in a suit. Like it.
They come fresh to death. Yeah, they come fresh
absolutely.
To death.
And we have, a baby. But you said it well, Deion Jackson.
Super CNB challengers. Should I trade away Miles Sanders for Kamara PPR? Sanders had a decent game, fumbled. But even after the fumble, they kept going to him. So there's clearly no other options there. Bryce Young looked okay. Like he can move the ball a little bit. So in terms of that, I don't know, man. I would consider that trade in 2 weeks from now if Miles Sanders was still giving you points and Kamara was coming back. Like, if Sanders gives you 2 more weeks of this, and then maybe the Kamara owner is like, he's coming back, but I don't know how he's going to play, or blah, 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 blah. Or maybe Kendrick Miller comes out and has a good game next week. Like, then those are things you can start to consider. But otherwise, I'd probably stay with Miles Sanders right now and keep getting those flex points. Jacob?
Yeah, I agree. I would roll with Sanders.
Perfect. He just has a basketball, so we'll leave it at that. Colts versus Texans might be the lowest scoring game for sure, especially if Richardson doesn't play. Not only that, he had the concussion thing, and then he was also dealing with apparent knee injury. But Jacob, your guy, Anthony Richardson, looked pretty good. He looked pretty good.
I'm not mad about it.
He didn't take any deep shots. He didn't really run the ball like we thought he would, but very decisive, very quick release. Like, they were staying in that game with Jacksonville. I thought he looked like a more composed quarterback than Trevor Lawrence did. I'm just going to say it, even though the Jags came out.
Wow.
And it's only week 1, so things can happen. But maybe the Jags defense just isn't that good.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they're not. But Ray Gamer,
we talked a lot about Anthony Richardson, but I'll just say the thing I talked about a lot was his confidence, and he looked confident out there, and I love it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Ray Gamer says, what wide receiver could I get while I'm trading David Montgomery? That's a tough one. I'd have to go into flex rankings for that. I don't even know. All I know is that I love handcuffs. And when David Montgomery was sniped for me in our recent redraft league, I was very, very hurt. I'm just going to look at some of the players that are going around him. I'm just going to use Fantasy Pros rankings, Ray, and we'll see if we can come up with some generating ideas. But we'll make it pretty quick, and we'll see if you like any of these. David Montgomery, he's currently running back. What is that? Oh, wow. Fantasy Pros has him as the running back 13 this week. I don't know about all that. Like, they are easily going to start introducing Gibbs into this workload because you're not getting Amon-Ra, you're not getting Stephon Diggs. And just like that, we hate Fantasy Pros. That was ridiculous. Let me change it to PPR really quick. I bet you it changes. Yes, he moves down 2 spots. Yeah. He moves down 2 spots, but they do have Gibbs in front of him here.
Interesting.
DeAndre Hopkins, I could see that. He had a bad week 1. People are probably thinking, man, this Titans offense isn't going to be good. They're not going to be great. But they played a stymie Saints defense who has been under the radar and pretty sneaky good even last year. DeAndre Hopkins could be a potential trade target. I'm looking for some other wide receivers. Probably not Devo, probably not DJ, probably not Mike Williams and Michael Pittman. No, you can't get them with that. Yeah.
I think you could get a Mike Williams. How did Mike Williams do this week?
Not good. He was injured. He came back and left and came back again.
Oh, you're saying don't do it?
No, I'm saying, like, I don't think as the Mike Williams owner, I'm going to say yes to that trade.
The thing is, like, if we're talking about casual viewers, it's going to be hard. Like, I don't even think they would trade Hopkins just because he has more star power.
Yeah, bro, but
I mean, a smart fantasy analyst might, but
well, look at us. We're smart fantasy.
Or a smart fantasy player might, I should say. But
do with it what you will, Ray. We appreciate the comment. And like I said, throw out DeAndre. That'd be where I'd start. Other than that, you're going way far down this list for guys that I don't think you really need to look for. Jahan Dotson, I mean, that's my guy right there. He's going to be involved.
You have to find a team that needs a running back. That's the key there.
Yeah, and then you have to find a fringe RB or wide receiver 3.
And then suddenly you can get more value if that team desperately needs a running back.
Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin.
Go to that J.K. Dobbins manager.
Yeah, probably not even Drake London. Even people who probably have Drake London probably won't even give him up.
No, that draft pick was too expensive.
Yeah, baby. Says LOL. Yeah, you got a cute little baby, you know. Not trying to be weird. Moving on. Nate Jeffrey says, would you trade Higgins for Cook since Dobbins got injured as my RB2? Dude, puts you in a tough spot.
For Dalvin Cook?
No, I think it's for James Cook. He says it right here in the following comment.
Oh.
So basically, okay. James Cook for T. Higgins. Dude, I would do it. I would do it. He got 18 touches last night. Damian Harris didn't touch the ball at all. I mean, it didn't turn into a lot of fantasy success, but
it's not crazy. But it's not crazy. I would. It's full PP. Look, we're going to talk about this more. The Bengals are going to bounce back for sure.
I get that, but I'm just saying, if you need it, you need it.
It's not the worst name to trade Higgins for, though.
Yeah. I don't know, Nate. We're split here. I'd say do it. But that doesn't mean that
it's really roster dependent.
Because Jacob's right. Higgins is going to have great games. This is not just the rest of the season outlook for the Bengals. Higgins will be great. The Bengals will be great. James Cook will be solid, but he won't be great. I guess that's what we're trying to say here. But if you need running back depth, you got to do what you got to do, man. Anyways, that was a nice little run of comments there. So thank you all. We appreciate you. We can't be together in person, but we're together on this great big thing we call the internet. So air high fives from us. Jacob, let's get into your start of the week, man, while we have a little bit of time here. So again, I ask you, sir, who is your surprise performer for week 1 or week 2 of the fantasy football season? Jacob Bartley, the mic is yours.
So I always try to go with like a player that someone isn't really considering starting. He's either, on benches or maybe a flex play in deeper leagues. And for me, this week, that is Elijah Moore of the Cleveland Browns. Now, Gabe and I were relatively high on this guy coming into the season. And look, he didn't have a monster game. And that's kind of the point of this, is that I'm not, we could easily go with someone who had a huge boom performance this week and try to predict that they're going to be consistent and have another boom performance.
But then they wouldn't be a surprise performer, Jacob.
Absolutely. So that's where I'm getting at. And to me, look, Elijah Moore has a lot of things going for him. He didn't have an amazing game, but I do look, he had 3 catches for 43 yards on 7 targets. But he did have 2 rushes for 19 yards. I like the usage there. The thing that really stands out to me is that Pittsburgh got torched by Brock Purdy and by Brandon Ayuk. And I could see Elijah Moore having similar usage as Brandon Ayuk and kind of having a little bit of a field day with these Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think as a prospect, he was heavily hyped. And I just have felt, at least from my perspective, like the people who I talk to, the online places that I look, I just haven't felt the hype for Elijah Moore. And I get it. Like, he went to New York and he had a few boom performances and he never really delivered on that promise on a consistent basis. But if you just remember all the stuff that was going on during that time, he kind of got put to the sideline. He was supposed to be the man in New York, and then they drafted Garrett Wilson, and then he didn't like playing with Zach Wilson, and there was some bad blood between him and the franchise. So they got him out of there. They sent him to Cleveland. And while I'm not saying, Deshaun Watson, I don't think he's going to light it up all year necessarily, but I do think he's going to have a good game against Pittsburgh. And look, Watson can scramble a little bit. He's one of the better at that in the league. And TJ Watt is there, and I know that's an issue, but I think Watson's scrambling ability will allow for him to escape a little bit and get the ball to Elijah Moore. So I'm feeling comfortable. I'm actually starting Elijah Moore in a flex spot this week in one of my leagues. And when I made my lineup decision this week, I did, and I'll give us, this is not a spoiler. This is just kind of, I mean, it's not a spoiler. I wasn't able to get him into our DFS lineup this week. Do you know why? Because they play Monday night. So maybe my matchup will come down to a Monday night miracle from Elijah Moore. Look, I'm not saying he's going to get you 25 points, but I think he can get you a solid 15 fantasy points this week going with Elijah Moore.
Man, the usage was there. He got the targets. They let him rush the ball a few times last week. I
like that.
And people forget, it was only 2 days ago. They were playing in torrential downpour. This game could have turned out much differently. I love the call. I love the play. I think there's a world, I don't know if we see it exactly, but there's a world where Elijah Moore could easily out-target Amari Cooper. Yes, that could be the hot take I have here tonight at the end of the show. So, not a bad pick, Jacob. I agree with you. But what do you guys think? Let us know your comments down in the below. What do you think about Elijah Moore in week 2? We appreciate you guys.
Oh, man. And I'll just add on to that. I mean, this won't be in the clip, but Elijah, they had the same amount of targets. They both had 7 targets. And look, that game was maybe a little bit fluky, so we'll see. But the point is, he didn't, Cooper didn't outperform him necessarily.
Fair enough. Jacob, we got to back up just a little bit here because Roy Gamer, he subbed, baby. And what do we do when we get subs on live shows? Air high fives. And Archer, air high fives. All right, man. We appreciate you. Let's get to another one here. Jay says, Mike Williams or Zay Flowers? Zay Flowers. I never thought I'd say that so fast in my life. Zay Flowers look great.
Is this like this week or season long?
I mean, even if it was, like, how long until Mike Williams' inevitable downfall? That's why they drafted Quentin Johnston. I just think there's too much injury risk. I want the young, explosive receiver. Don't get me wrong. I think they're both going to have down weeks from time to time. But I want the high upside play here. And Zay Flowers is the clear-cut best wide receiver on that football team with the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to work to get him more involved. I expect amazing things from him. Maybe not from a fantasy perspective, but just overall in general. That guy's going to wow some people this year.
Yeah,
I was just completely wrong about him.
I always lean, higher upside, more excitement, and I think that's Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I had Zay Flowers somewhere in that 20 to 25 range, Mike Williams in that 30 range. So just behind each other. Thanks, Jay, for the comment, man. We appreciate you. Then we got a couple of questions over here. David Tulane, thanks for coming out, man. Let's go. Week 1 win, baby. Where's your win week 1 clip? Where's the week 1 winners, baby? Let's give them a nice little short crowd cheer. Right, for sure. We appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Let's kind of move on. Talked about surprise performers today. We have talked about some other things. I don't have the DFS queued up, but what I do have queued up is something that we wanted to talk about. We've been toying with the idea. Last year, we did our own rankings. And let's be honest, we're guys that have jobs for a living. It takes a lot of effort to be up on this stuff week in and week out. So we thought we could do something a little bit more fun, which is nitpick at the people who get paid to do it. Because you know why? We're always going to try to take down the big guy. So today we're going to look at some rankings here. The Flex rankings brought to you by Fantasy Pros. No, they're not our sponsor because we're about to bash them to some extent. But before we do, Duffy says Hawkinson, DJ Moore, and Rachaad White for Henry and Higbee. Do you know, Jacob, that Tajay Spears was on the field more snaps than Derrick Henry in week 1? That's not a question. It's a fact. Derrick Henry was still extremely efficient. I think he's going to be even more efficient this year on less carries. Yes, another hot take for me tonight. Derrick Henry looked incredible. They're going to obviously still lean on the run because Tannehill is awful. So as far as that trade is concerned, I don't like the Higbee part of it. I don't like the DJ Moore part of it. I don't like the Rachaad White part of it. So it's Hawkinson for Henry. I would keep Henry, and I would keep Higbee. That's my opinion.
I mean, you don't want the number 1 tight end in fantasy at 11.3 points?
Dude, you make such a good point. With that being said, I'm going to double down and say no. Get as far away from me as possible. Duffy, man. Hold on.
Kelsey didn't play, obviously. But no, yeah. Look, consistent tight end. I think Hawkinson is like a very valuable fantasy piece. But it's Derrick Henry. He's not, his reign is not over. King Henry's reign is not over. So keep him.
Don't doubt the big boy. Thanks, Duffy. We appreciate you. Savvy Edits comes in and says, trade Debo and Mingo for Breece Hall. I already have Lamb, Keenan Allen, Lockett, and Addison. If this is a redraft league, sure. Why not? He's going to get 10 or 12 carries a game. They're going to ease him in as the season goes along. I don't know why you have to give up. Well, I guess because it's a running back, so they're pretty scarce. So that's why you're giving up Mingo and Debo. I have a feeling this is probably a dynasty league, though. In that scenario, I'd probably still do it. I would do it. It's a running back, man. He's got Lamb, Young. He's got Addison, Young. and he's got Keenan and Lockett for this year at least.
I would hope so if it is a dynasty league, please let us know, and that goes for all future questions. But I'm just gonna assume redraft, and I would do it because Breece Hall looked amazing. I'm so I have him in a few spots, and I should have got him some more because he was so affordable.
I got him in one of our Rio Americano leagues.
So the funny thing is, you traded for him and you didn't keep him, and then you ended up drafting him again, which is kind of cool. Good for you.
And technically, at the keeper cost, he's going to be much cheaper than what I traded for.
And I think you making that trade and releasing him made you want to get him back even more. So honestly, I think it kind of
even thinking about
really it just kind of felt to you.
I don't know. Yeah, dude. I told you I had so many running backs in that draft. I was not planning to.
He was being slept on, especially with the Dalvin Cook signing.
Yeah, for sure. Savvy says that it's redraft for sure, man. Take Breece Hall. Go with the upside.
Yeah, I would do it.
Especially with Aaron Rodgers going down. They're going to run that ball so much. Take Dalvin. Take Breece.
And look, I love Debo, but if you watch that 49ers game, that ball's going everywhere, and Ayuk looks a lot better.
Jacob, we have some time. Let's go ahead and instead get our DFS cues up. Does that sound good for you?
I got mine ready.
Dude, honestly, I don't even like mine. I don't. I had a hard time picking a lineup this week. And to recap, I am 0-1. I lost to Jacob last week. I believe you had the CMC and Hill stack, didn't you?
No, I had CMC and Ayuk. I think that's what you meant. That's what you meant. Yeah.
Well, I meant Hill, but you took him.
Oh, wait. No. I'm thinking of a different lineup. Excuse me. I did have Tyreek Hill against you. Yes, that's correct. But I did win some money on starting CMC and Ayuk this week. So
I came up pretty awesome. $15. I was pretty happy about that myself. Big time gamblers over here. And that's down for me. What kind of RV could I get for just Moore and White? Again, I'm not going to give you my best foot forward here, but a good way of kind of managing that situation is I can go now. And if you only have DJ Moore in my rankings, let me pull it up here. I don't know, man. Yeah, wide receiver 26 for me. You're looking for running backs. You're looking Najee Harris. Running backs are so scarce. So even though I have Najee Harris ranked behind Duffy or ranked behind DJ Moore, that's not someone that I necessarily want to target because I think Jaylen Warren's eventually going to take over that backfield, or at least it's going to be a split backfield. So we continue down the list. Isaiah Pacheco. It's like, now you're getting gross. When you try to give up a meddling wide receiver 2, you're always going to get a lesser running back because the running back market is so much more scarce. So he goes on to say, I'm going along the basis that I'm starting Flowers over Moore. Yeah, start Flowers over Moore until otherwise. And then as far as trying to find somebody for DJ Moore, Pacheco, I don't really like it, but that's something that you can for surely get. Najee Harris, I don't really like it, but you could probably get. I like to go a little bit further down just to see. No. Kenneth Gainwell, maybe. We didn't even talk about this, Jacob. That's going to be the biggest mirage in all of fantasy football. I am not trusting in Eagles.
Really?
Dude, no way. There were beat writers all offseason.
I disagree.
That Kenneth Gainwell was going to be the running back. He came out and he was the running back. Still, that scares me so much. People,
you know why I feel good about it? Because I picked Gainwell up in a bunch of leagues before this week. So, I guess I have I'm tied to the situation, so I have more reason to root for Gainwell. But maybe I'm a little biased there, but I just think I got him off benches. Off the waiver wire in most leagues, prior to week 1 starting. So
yeah, I feel it. Definitely goes on to say, what about Miles Sanders? Nah, honestly, if I'm the Miles Sanders owner, I'm not doing that trade. I'm not giving up Miles Sanders for DJ Moore. That's why I was trying to go back into my rankings. I have Miles Sanders ahead of DJ Moore, but if I'm going to make a trade like that, I'm looking for running backs of a lesser option. That's just how it works, man. Because there's so many wide receivers and there's such a condensed volume of running backs, you're always going to get a lesser value in trading away a wide receiver than you are trading a running back to get a wide receiver, just because the value is there. That's how it kind of works out. Miles Sanders, I would say no. Again, Najee, Isaiah Pacheco, that's kind of your range. And it sucks because those guys are like running back, low-end running back 2s, maybe even running back 3s in flex plays. That's just kind of the market. Unless you got a better name. Think of a better name and we'll get back to it, Duffy. I appreciate you. This guy says, what are you doing with Quentin Nelson? Thank you, Rendon Dye. Should I drop him? First of all, is that a defensive player, Jacob?
I think he's talking about Quentin Johnston. He must be. He must be talking about, because I think Quentin Nelson is the Colts offensive lineman. If that's the guy I'm thinking of, yeah. But unless you're playing in a, what is it called? IDP league.
IDP league. You do you, man. You do you.
Don't drop Quentin. Wait, he's not even a defensive player. What am I talking about?
No, he's not. Oh, no, he said Johnson. He said Johnson. He said, in a 10-man league, I have Justin Herbert and Anthony Richardson is on the waiver wire. Is he worth picking up? Yeah, man. I would pick up Anthony Richardson. Like, I don't know. It depends how deep your bench is. But if it's a 10-man league, yeah. He got picked up in a lot of 10-man leagues. So to see that he's on a waiver wire in a league like that, which I'm not throwing any shade at all. It's totally a competitive league. But he's worth a speculative at. He looked really good, man. For a rookie. Put it in perspective. For a rookie that didn't do what he was supposed to do, which was run the ball, he looked good. So that's all I'll say. I would add him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to play one of the leagues where you start the offensive lineman, though. I don't know how they get fantasy points, but no, Quentin Johnston.
Problem solving, new solutions.
It's really tough because if you like, most casual leagues are 10-team leagues, right? Yeah, and it's all good, all good. We knew what you meant. I love Quentin Johnston. Like in dynasty leagues, I believe in him very, very much. But it's really hard. But he's borderline droppable in a 10-team. If you need to.
You didn't finish that. Yeah. I mean, as long as Williams and Keenan Allen are healthy, that's what you're looking at.
But that's the thing. You could be sitting on a gold mine there. Is the thing.
I mean, if you're dropping Quentin Johnston to pick up Anthony Richardson, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to feel good. And as soon as one of them gets injured, that's what you're going to be kicking yourself in the face for. But you know what? You make the moves that you got to make. Big moves get you big wins. Brendan, we appreciate you coming out, man. Zach, my mouth is killing me. Zach Merritt says, would you trade Rachaad White, Breece Hall, and Amon-Ra St. Brown for Tony, Pollard, and Devontae Adams? So you're getting Tony Pollard and Devontae Adams for Breece Hall and Amon-Ra. Honestly, I'd probably have the Breece Hall Amon-Ra side. Rachaad White, he's just a depth play. I don't care about him in that deal. I don't think he's worth anything in that deal. So it's Breece Hall, Amon-Ra for Devontae 25. I do think there are bigger games to come for Devontae Adams.
That's a big trade. It's a lot of important trade.
And you know what? The more and more I talk myself through it, I can see Tony Adams for Devontae. I can see taking Tony Pollard and Devontae Adams.
I would rather have the Pollard and Adams side.
Well, there you go. Looks like we settled on it. If that's what you got to do, man, big moves, get you big wins. Jacoby Myers took an awful hit. I mean, he'll probably be playing next week, but I don't think you expect him to be the top receiver week in and week out. They were playing the Broncos. Patrick Surtain shut down corner. Obviously, there were things there that had in play. Look for Devontae Adams to have some bigger games. And then let's see if I could find a way to trade away White and Moore for Sanders and Brown. I don't know what Brown you're talking about, but if White and Moore would probably get you Sanders at this point. Like that's kind of what I would view it as. So I don't know what the Brown is on top.
And are we talking about DJ Moore or wait?
Yeah, he's talking about DJ Moore. Marquise Brown. I mean, yeah, like if you want the best wide receiver on the worst team in football, you could do that. But I think the better goal here is to I don't know. That's tough, man. That's tough. You really want Sanders. I get that. But honestly, yeah, I would do it. I would do it then because you're getting the guy you want. I don't believe in White. I like Moore, but I think it's going to be a very up and down season for him. And again, Chicago played a really good defense. And who did DJ Moore face? One of the best cornerbacks in all of football, Jair Alexander. So he wasn't covered by him most of the game, but he did see a lot of coverage his way. So I think there are good games coming for him. But Sanders is probably the guy that you want. I don't think that's a horrible trade. So Jacob, we agreed. White and Moore for Sanders and White or Brown. You want Sanders. That's the back. I think I do it.
I don't know. How did Marquise Brown? I did not pay attention to the Cardinals at all.
Not great, Jacob.
I think Rachaad White has better days, honestly. So I lead the White and DJ Moore side.
Oof. All right. Duffy, do with it what you may. Shizuto says, I can get Breece Hall and Sam Laporta, Mike Evans, if I trade away Kelsey and Mooney in Dynasty. No, I can't. I can't do it. Give me Breece Hall. Give me Sam Laporta. Give me Mike Evans. Kelsey, I'm sorry. Mooney means nothing to me in that trade. It's all about Kelsey. If you're a win now team and you absolutely feel like you are in the best position to win if you put Kelsey on your team, then do it. But if you think you're even going to be just a contender this year, I would take the Breece, Laporta, and Mike Evans side. Sam Laporta had 8 fantasy points. That put him like tight end 9. Like he had a good game, and it was his first game. He had a better game than Dalton Kincaid. So yes, Shizito. Jacob just texted me. He's having some difficulties. Oh, he gets the Breece side. I don't know why I'm doing that. That was the most awkward thing I've ever done in my life. But do that trade. Get Breece Hall, get Sam Laporta, get Mike Evans. Brighter days ahead for those guys. And it's in a dynasty league. Like, if you feel like you don't have the opportunity to win now, sell away that asset while you can get one of the best young running backs in football, one of the best young tight ends in football. I would do it. So hopefully that helps, man. Pacheco better than Brown then? Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely argue that. Jacob's texting me. He's having internet issues, folks. Internet issues. Please wait while I call our co-host. 1 second, please. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on with him, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I would say Pacheco over Brown in that scenario for sure. Ventro, thanks for waiting, man. I appreciate you. He says, I have Sutton and Judy on the same team. I also have Devontae Smith. Which Broncos wide receiver should I trade, and which one should I keep? You're keeping Jerry Judy. That'd be the one I'm going to keep. Very short, very sweet. He didn't play last week. He's clearly the more upside play. To be honest with you, I completely forgot even how Sutton did. So I'd have to look here just to kind of see. Jacob, usually my right-hand man, is here to spot these things for me, and he is not. So we can just give him a big no thank you when he gets back. Let me look up here. Sutton, how'd you do yesterday? If you let me know down in the chat, how'd you do? I'd still take Jerry Judy, 100%. That's who I want in this trade. 13 fantasy points, 5 targets, 4 receptions. The Raiders defense wasn't even that good. No. I'm taking Jerry Judy there. And I would trade away Cortland Sutton. Hope that helps, Ventro, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. Shasuda says, my team would be Hurts, Sanders, Breece, Akers, Mike Evans, Jay Jettas, Amari, Kirk, Waller, Laporta. Oh, 2 tight ends. Oh, but it's a dynasty league. Solid QB, solid RBs, except for Akers. Hopefully you can pick up your Kyrian Williams. Wide receivers getting a little older, but not bad. Not bad. Good team. Kirk scares me, obviously. No week 1 love for Christian Kirk. I would probably start to package some of those wide receivers, man. Look for some youth. I think there's a world where you can compete with that team for sure. Philly Mike OG. I love it, man. I love it. He says, help. Superflex QBs are Kenny Pickett, Jimmy G, Joshua Dobbs, and Aaron Rodgers. Dun, dun, dun. So sad, dude. But more sad for Aaron Rodgers. That sucks. His RBs are Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, James Conner, Antonio Gibson, Zeke, and A.J. Dillon. I don't know what to do. Help. Well, I need a question first. I think you're going into full-blown panic mode because you're missing Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, anybody who is listening, I feel obligated to say this every 15 minutes. I got mouth work one done today. So if you hear some heavy lift, that is why. But yeah, man. Kenny Pickett, Jimmy G. That's tough. You need to improve the quarterback room immediately. I'd look to trade away Jonathan Taylor. Oh my gosh. And you had J.K. Dobbins? No. Oh my goodness. Dude, if you want any chance of surviving this season, your best bet is to trade away Jonathan Taylor now and just get what you can and don't lose these games when they matter so much. It's a long, long season. There's plenty of waiver wire moves to make. Your wide receivers are, what is that? Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Kirk, Ayuk, and Watson. That's a much better wide receiving core. Hold on to that. That's what's going to carry you. That wide receiving core is absolutely beautiful. Keep that wide receiving core. If you have to, move Devontae Smith, move Christian Kirk. Those are the guys I'm willing to move. I want all my shares of Godwin, Ayuk, and Hill. Don't think about it. But Jonathan Taylor is the guy you need to move and look to try to acquire a better quarterback. Move Jonathan Taylor and Kenny Pickett. Anybody who believes in him. See what you can do. Or Jimmy G. See what you can do with Jonathan Taylor. Look at that package and try your best. That's all I have to say. Jacobs, if he has some thoughts about this, he's going to back me up, but I'm going to keep on moving along while he gets set back into here. Ventro says, I have Sutton and Judy on the same team. I also have to. Oh, yeah, we already talked about this. Boom. See you later, Sutton. Keeping Judy.
Hello.
I can hear you, sir.
Oh, there we go. That's terrible podcasting. Oh, wow. The feed dropped from 7 to 3 viewers when I left.
Dude, I can't carry this ship by myself, Jacob. Don't call out things like that, making me look bad on worldwide internet. Not cool, man. Not cool. Anyways, yeah, I did my fair share. I carried the weight. Now, Jacob, you may not know about this next guy. XH, solid contributor, watches a lot of content, so he's joining us today. XH, you're usually talking to me. Today, you're going to hear from the guru himself, Jacob Bartley. This is what XH says. He's terrified about Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson. That schedule, I know it's tough. When Zach was the QB last year, it was almost all Breece Hall who would have gotten, I'm guessing, fantasy points without his knee injury. Jacob, we talked about it a little bit. Spend 15, 20 seconds talking about Garrett Wilson again.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true because it's possible that if Breece Hall didn't go out, Garrett Wilson doesn't have that type of year because they wouldn't have had as much work for him. But hey, I think a rising tide raises all ships. So I think they're going to complement each other. The offense is going to be more super powered because of the two of them, which will lead to more first downs, more touchdowns. So I think they can both do very, very well.
Yeah. Again, XH, solid man of the show. Since you're here in the flesh today, the internet flesh, XH, I always say thank you because you always spark a good conversation in the chat. So we appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming out today. Air high fives from us. Solid contributor there. Thank you so much, man. Sarja.
Yes, I'm back, Sarju. Oh.
He's back. And he's back.
I did not think I was going to make it back, honestly.
It's all good, baby. You're here. Settle down. Relax. I don't know why I decided to talk like that. That's weird. Duffy says, what should I do with Quentin Johnson? I mean, he's a hold. He's a hold for now. Just wait. Again, he becomes one of the most prized assets in that Justin Herbert, Kellen Moore offense if Mike Williams or Keenan Allen goes down. So I'd hold on to him as long as I can. Ricky AA. Now, this looks like a nice, credible profile picture, Jacob. Looks like him at work doing his thing. I like it. He says like Dobbs or Reynolds. He says Dobbs or Reynolds, Christian Watson might be back. Dude, so many people love Romeo Dobbs. I don't exactly see it just yet. Like you said in the comment, Christian Watson is coming back. But all the same, I'd go Romeo Dobbs over Reynolds. Caught the touchdown. Jordan Love looked all the part. Of course, there's going to be struggles this year, but that team looks good. They're going to compete, and they're going to be throwing the ball a ton. Romeo Dobbs is a good play over Reynolds.
I would go Romeo Dobbs, and I'm really feel like I'm so happy with Jordan Love because I just joined a dynasty league right before the season started, and it was a heavy buy-in, and I drafted Jordan Love as my second QB after Justin Fields, and I feel so good about it.
For sure. The feeling is mutual. Thanks, Ricky AA. We appreciate you coming out, man. Philly Mike, I had to answer your whole question while Jacob was gone, so I felt so much pressure. He did just say he got offered Rachaad White and Khalil Herbert. That's like literally the worst trade, though. I literally told Philly Mike a couple of minutes ago, Jacob, when you were having technical difficulties, to try and trade Jonathan Taylor because his quarterback scored Jimmy G, Kenny Pickett, Aaron Rodgers. Like, awful. Like, what are you going to do with that? Not a lot. So trade your most prized asset that's also not giving you anything. But at the same time, he also says he needs RB depth. I don't think so, man. You have A.J. Dillon. Worst case scenario with your wide receivers, you could go 0 RB here. And that's a guy like A.J. Dillon who's going to get you like maybe 5 to 10 fantasy points on a good day. Like that much with Tyreek Hill and Brandon Ayuk, that's going to be the type of guy that carries you over. And then let's upgrade that QB position. I'd focus on QB more, especially in the Dynasty League, which I'm guessing is super flex. Geno Smith stack versus Detroit or Giants stack with Danny Dimes versus Arizona. Oh, that's a DFS question. We haven't even gotten to our DFS part of the day, but I'm feeling it. I'm taking the Geno Smith stack, but before I do, I have to look up. These are both bounce back games, which I'm assuming why you're picking them because they're probably cheap. I don't know how much they're worth. I know in my most recent DFS play, I paid up for Patrick Mahomes, so I didn't have to worry about these players. But in a situation where you're cheaping out on their QB, I'd probably go with the Geno Smith stack, man. Jacob, what about you?
Yeah, I would go with Geno Smith.
Responses, man. Jacob is far more analytical. You may think he's the quietest person in the world. There's so much damn information going on in this guy's head. He spits out the best info. You just gotta wait for it, folks. You just gotta wait for it. So, what do you think?
How do you know that, Gabe? That's very true.
Because I know you too well, bro. Just go. Let him know what's up. Spit the goodness at him. Who's the DFS play here? Geno Smith or Danny Dimes? I got Geno as a QB at QB 11 this week. Much better matchup. Shootout with Detroit. Let's see it happen. Danny Dimes, good luck. I go with the Geno Smith stack. Jacob?
I go Geno Smith too. I already said Geno Smith.
Ricky A says, LOL. Yeah, man, I guess we're just having a good time here tonight. Stephen Joe says, what's up, fellas? Have the #1 waiver. Should I burn it on a guy like Kelly, Kirion, or Puka? Dude, we never even got into waiver wires tonight. That's how packed the chat was. We appreciate you guys coming out in force, but this is the perfect time to talk about it. He says, I do need RB depth, but I think Puka could be a steal. If anything, trade him for an RB later down the road, but I don't know. My thoughts. Okay, story time, Jacob. Are you ready? How many takes do we give in an off season? We give a lot, right? My Ridley take, for example, my Calvin Ridley take. You know how many views that got on YouTube? The Ridley take
10,000.
must have been our most viewed video in probably a year. It was up in like the thousands. You know, for us, that's a lot.
That's because it's something that people are unsure of.
Yes. But do you remember my take at the time before preseason had even started, before training camp had even started? It was that
you said he was going to be awful, right?
Was going to be not awful. He was just going to be outside the top 20. Look what he does in week 1. Look how many people came back to call me out on Twitter, on YouTube for how wrong I was. But you know what I was equally happy about? You know what put all of that to shame, Jacob? I had a couple of people on TikTok and one person on YouTube. They reached out to me because I posted a Puka Nacua short back in I think July.
Wow.
And they went back to that and they commented on it and they said, dude, you were so right, my guy. And you know what? Yes, you're going to get calls wrong in fantasy. It's inevitable. It's bound to happen. But the right ones are going to feel so much better. And I appreciate the few of you that went out of your way to show respect for the deep call that I made back then. I like Puka. As far as, longevity in a season, he's got San Francisco next week. They got a couple of more plays. Then you got Cooper Kupp coming back. If it's a dynasty league, I go after Puka Nacua.
Oh, for sure.
If it's a redraft league, there might be some people spending a lot up for him. Now, obviously, you have the number one waiver wire. I think you burn it on Puka. I think I still stay with Puka here, and you ride the flames with this guy. Jacob, what are your thoughts? You go running back, or Puka?
So I'll tell you what. I'm in a redraft league where I have the number one waiver wire, and this is the only draft where I really went wide receiver light. Like, I had CeeDee Lamb, and I didn't draft a wide receiver for a while. And I ended up with Pittman, which is a nice wide receiver 2 to have. But I'm using my number one waiver wire on Puka Nacua, and those other 2 guys are available. And this is a full PPR league because I just think, look, once Stafford trusts a guy, he loves him. So, and there's a possibility that Cooper Kupp misses more time than 4 games. So if that happens, and when Sean McVay loves a guy as well, they're going to feature him. So this could be a league winner on our hands. Look, we could be wrong, but this could be a league winner on our hands.
You heard it here first, Steve Joe. Burn that waiver wire down. Take Puka.
Especially because it's week 1. So, look, it doesn't matter. Like, Gabe's in this league with me too, but he can't do anything to stop this. I'm going to use it to get Puka. And the thing is,
I could call. I could call. Someone.
Yeah,
I can make a few phone calls. I know where you.
But
live.
The thing
there
is,
are things that I could do.
If you don't use it on Puka, or you just decide to save it, we have people who save their waiver wire pick. Then you're just going to miss out on these players. If I use it now, I get Puka, I automatically start moving up the waiver wire again because everyone's going to start using their picks, and I'm going to end up at 5 again, and I'll be closer to the top. So not only do I get Puka, but because I go back to the bottom and move up, it's going to be sitting pretty.
Yeah, for sure. I like what Stephen Joe goes on to say. He says, yeah, I'm not even sure Kupp comes back himself. It's odd that he flies halfway across the country to see a hamstring specialist. Seems like there could be something more going on than what we know. I mean, dude, but you know who did look good? Matthew Stafford. Props, dude. The guy looked really good. I'm excited to see the Rams play football when everybody else was saying they were going to be absolutely dreadful this year to watch. There were all these rumors in the offseason that Matthew Stafford was going to get traded, blah, 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 blah. Matthew Stafford looked good. The Rams look good. It's going to be a good game next week. Rams, Niners. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Did you answer this question, Gabe?
My RB of the week is Derrick Henry versus who's yours? See, so around here, Philly Mike, we do surprise performers of the week. My surprise performer this week is Gus Edwards, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. I know he didn't have the touchdowns like Justice Hill did. Justice Hill only averaged 2.2 yards per carry. Gus Edwards, on the other hand, was very efficient with his work, 8 carries for 52 yards or something like that. They go up against a really beat-up Cincinnati Bengals team who just absolutely got rushed on by the likes of Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson, and Jerome Ford. I'm going with Gus Edwards. But if I had to pick a superstar this week, like Derrick Henry, man, I'll pick anyone. Travis Etienne looked good last week. Jahmyr Gibbs, look for him to get a little bit more work this week. I still think he has a great season ahead of him. That's my pick. What about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I was actually going to go with Gibbs. I mean, look, everybody loves Gibbs, right? But I just think he has a great matchup this week against Seattle, and we might be talking more about him soon.
Really quick, he says, what defense should I play? Oh, I thought you were going to say, what player should I play? I was going to say Zay Jones. Spoiler, Jacob, by the way.
Ooh, I do like, so I just real quick, I wrote down because I thought we were doing waiver wire. we all know the obvious waiver wire pickups. Some sleeper pickups, Zay Jones, I did right, Roshan Johnson, Chuba Hubbard, and Rashee Rice of the Chiefs. Those are some sleeper waiver wire pickups that not everybody has their eye on. I see Rendon Dye ask, is Roshan Johnson a stash for this week in the waiver wire? I would make him a priority in the waiver wire. I can't hear you, Gabe.
Jacob, you can't just be jumping comments, dude. I was going to bring it up. Yes, Roshan Johnson, Rendon. Yes.
And I know, look, you've been high on him. You've been high on him.
I've been high on him from the get-go. He's the best running back in Chicago. I was always a Herbert over Johnson. I changed my mind. Get that man while you can. Roshan Johnson, Rendon. You aren't just a good fantasy football player. You're a great fantasy football player. Keep up it. It's going to be good. Roshan Johnson's running back to own in Chicago. We got all the Mike stuff. He said, would you drop Johnson for Shaheed? I probably wouldn't. I'd still keep on to Quentin Johnson, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas. Nah, don't do that. Shaheed's going to be that big boom bust guy. He's more of a DFS play. Philly Mike Sheet said, what defense? I got the Denver Broncos right now. They're about $4,500. They're going against Denver, or they're going against Washington. Again, Patrick Surtain, look for him to shut down Terry McLaurin. Look for Jahan Dawson to find some openings. I don't think he gets in the end zone, but I think we see more catches this week. I'd still pick the Denver Broncos defense. Let's see. Stephen Joe, we talked about this. Yep. Zach
Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb all day. You have to take Nick Chubb because he's a RB1, and like we said, Kupp might not come back.
Yeah, may not come back. Rendon Dye, thanks, guys. No, guys. Not you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. My wife is yelling in the background. It's getting late here, but we're staying up for you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Rendon. Appreciate you guys. We got one more here, and I think we can sneak in our DFSs. Blurpy says, do I trade Judy for Waller? My wide receivers are Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Debo, Christian Watson. My only tight end is Higbee. I mean, I'd do that. Why not? You got Diggs, Garrett Wilson, Debo, and Watson? Like, you're filthy, dude. The only time
I would Judy do it. I like Waller a lot.
You're only ever going to play Judy in bye weeks. So,
yeah.
And by then, you could probably find someone else on the waiver wire. Waller is going to have better days. And yes, the injury concern is there.
Tight end is always tough.
Yeah, but look at the guy you're trading away. Another injury concern player. So do it in the position of need. Clearly, you need a tight end. Let's go Waller. For sure, Blurpy. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate you. Jacob, what are you doing, man? I've been telling you I wanted to do DFS for the last 2 hours. Are we going to get it going or not?
Let's do it.
Keep up with the time frame, Jacob. Goodness gracious, dude. All right. By the way, I don't like my lineup that much, but I'm going to just come out and do it today. It is what it is. And there it is right there. Is this? No, that's my whole screen. I just want to share my window. Oh, there it is. All right. Well, Jacob, you're 1-0. You show me your lineup first, man. I'll show you. You show me yours, and then I'll show you mine.
Okay, let's see here.
That's what you had to get one in.
All right. There we go. All right. Oh, some spoilers there.
Goodness,
Some spoilers there. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Look, this is the cheapest Joe Burrow's going to be all year. He's going to have a bounce back game. I actually chose my quarterback, I think, second to last because I see which one I can afford after I choose some bargain players. So I went with Joe Burrow, superstar talent at a very affordable price. I think this is the lowest he'll be all year, so I rolled with him. I rolled with CMC because it's just fun watching the Niners play, and he's like almost guaranteed to hit unless he gets injured. I have Jahmyr Gibbs in the lineup. I think this is the breakout game for Gibbs. I think Montgomery's going to get a lot of work all season long as both guys are healthy, but Gibbs, look, you got to have your superstars in the lineup. My strategy is I find a bunch of bargains first, and then I see what superstars I can afford. So that's how I ended up with CMC and Jamar Chase. Again, I got this Burrow-Chase stack going against Baltimore. I think that they're both going to have a bounce-back game here. And here we go. Puka Nacua. I know he's playing the San Francisco 49ers, but I think he's going to lead the Rams in targets again, and he just looks so good. I had to get some bargain plays in there, so I'm rolling with Sky Moore. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have a piece of the Chiefs offense at that affordable price. Again, I went with a cheap tight end. Kincaid looks pretty good. He had some decent amount of work, so I'm going to roll with Kincaid. And I got another superstar in my lineup, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because I have these bargain pieces, I'm able to afford him. And then I went ahead and went with Dallas, not because they blew up for 40 points this week. I went with Dallas because they're playing against the New York Jets, against Zach Wilson. And while I do think, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson are gonna do well, I just think the combination of Dallas's defense being so talented and playing against Zach Wilson at home in Dallas, I think they're gonna have another monster performance. So there's my lineup.
My man. Not bad at all. There's some definite similarities there.
I thought so.
That's for sure. All right, you ready for mine? It's a good team. Though. I will say that. But mine's better. Starting off with the big boy himself, Patrick Mahomes. Listen, I'm 0-1 on the year. It's go big or go home. Who's going bigger than anyone else this week? Mahomes. He went out and had played with the absolute worst team last week. That his supporting cast was awful. Look for him to rebound in a big way against a very susceptible Jacksonville defense who let Anthony Richardson, rookie QB of the Indianapolis Colts, look good during his first NFL performance. They're going to make Patrick Mahomes look like a superstar. Then I went with Bijan Robinson. Limited touches, doesn't matter. Dynamic playmaker. He's going to get you fantasy points. And I decided to get the rookie stack in the game. Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm also going with the rookie, just like Jacob. And I'm stacking my Lions. Also like Jacob. I went with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still am going with my guy. I went with him last week. I'm sticking with him this week. That's Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. He's got a really good matchup. Again, Patrick Surtain, look for him to be all over Terry McLaurin. Jahan Dotson, find open season, baby. My bargain play of the week probably was Nico, even though I thought it was weird that he was more expensive than Jahan. He had a good week last week. I look for him to build off of that against Indianapolis. Sam Laporta, rookie tight end. Man, I'm going rookie strong this week, man. Mike Williams, and I too went with the Dallas Cowboys defense.
Ooh, okay. So it's a wash at least, at 3 of our spots?
I mean, we got Dallas the same. We got
Amon-Ra and Gibbs. Okay. Gibbs, I thought for sure you were going to have Puka in there, but you didn't. Okay.
The Niners matchup scares me. I think let's just say there's a world where he has 10 catches again. You know what I'm saying? Right? But it's not going to be for 120 yards. If he gets 10 catches again, it's going to be
it's not going to be 10 catches. I just think, look, what was he, 5,600 or something? It's just the price, honestly.
No, because PPR value, he's going to give you a really good performance.
It's the price for arguably the number one weapon in the Rams offense.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. So with that being said, yeah, I just don't think he's going to give you 10 for 119 again. He could give you 8 for 75, which is going to be great. And who knows? Maybe he finds the end zone. Guys, thanks for coming out tonight. We appreciate you so much. If you saw anything you liked here today, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps us out so much. You have no idea. And if you do, somewhere out there, we give you a big thank you because we can't be together in person, but we're together over this great big thing we call the internet. And that means more to us than you know. Jacob, let's get out of here, man. It's been a fun night. You got to cue up the hot take, though, or is it me? Who's giving it today? While I get us queued up.
I want to hear one if you got one, Gabe, because mine are terrible.
In week 2, the number 1 QB on the week is going to be none other. Are you ready for it, Jacob? None other than bounce back candidate Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. You heard it here.
There you go.
Reap the benefits. Let's get out of here before the fire starts. Peace.